press the button.
I think there's a tuning fork for that.
Oh, there's a tuning. There we go.
Releasing fear and anxiety.
There you go. I've heard that earlier today. All right, there's a recording. All right, and we welcome to the 2019 Soma Share, Rosemary Levesque. I got it right.
You did. You got it right. I just want to introduce a little animal that I'm going to have with me today. In my Reiki classes, we practice on animals. So I brought one for today toward the end. I realized that this is a 50-minute presentation, and I'm usually one who provides a 25-minute presentation. Okay. So support me and bear with me and ask lots of questions that I can answer for you. I would appreciate that.
Okay, let me, so Rosemary, again, is one of our master teachers, got a great practice going out on the, out west there. And and she's presented before, always very, very prepared, very colorful slides, and a very interesting topic here. Let's pull it up. I thought I pulled it up. There we go. How about let's get to the title slide. There we go.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So very interesting topic, and that is using tuning fork sound therapy with your animals. So.
Thank you. I just want to double check on.
You don't have.
Now. There you go.
Yeah, I was working on it.
I'm sensing a little resistance in you, Tim, for providing people this power of being moderator.
Yeah, it's just a matter of 6 things going on, and every time I change people, I got to do 3 or 4 different things. So
I'm kidding.
Keeping it all coordinated. Yeah. All right, take it away and wow us with animals and sound therapy. Thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. For those of you who do not know me, and actually I know a lot of people who are presenting here, we've met in Ohio during some of the trainings, and hello, warm welcome from me in Portland. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Reiki master, shaman, and intuitive light worker. I communicate with animals, I communicate with spirit. And hi, Pat. Good to see you. I'm also the author of this book here, Heal Together. This is my first book. Other books are in the process, but this one here talks about natural health solutions for animals and their humans, because we have such a connection, such a strong connection with our animals. We've invited them into our homes, and over the centuries that they have been living among people, we've developed a very tight bond, and so much so that often animals will take on our stress, our troubles. So I wanted to begin with just that thought of who our animals are and how we can relate, how we can relate to them, and what it means to offer healing energies to them that goes beyond what modern medicine provides, which is usually, tell me if you resonate with this. Something is wrong with your dog or your cat, you bring them to the vet. Yes? Show of hands, or yes in the chat box. Usually that's the way it goes. Not a bad idea to get some kind of a diagnosis, right? You want to know what's going on. You know there's something going on, but you don't know what it is. And I will tell you that usually something has been going on for a long time before the animal has revealed anything is wrong. It is in their nature to hide things. Yes, then tuning forks, Pat says. So, and see if I can figure this out here with these slides. Okay, good. I'm on track. Wait a minute. There was a way to do it at the bottom. Got it. All right. So this is about integrative sound healing for animals. As you know, I work with not only sound, but I also work with Reiki, essential oils, crystals. I teach people about a healthy diet, about toxicity, about how to be in the world and have a clean space, and how all of this affects the animals. So this is all put together. Everybody has a life force, And if you're doing the work similar to what I'm doing, you realize that this life force is also in crystals. It is also in the wood. It is also in uh, everything out there. And we can access this life force. We can talk about this life force. We can utilize this life force. And in our animals, we can support it. I will touch upon some concepts of Chinese medicine as well. And please note, I am not a doctor. I am not a Chinese medicine practitioner. I know very little about it, but I find that and this information is especially interesting because we can look at using tuning forks and energy work with animals in a little different way. In our training, very often, as well as in many of the presentations today, I've heard the word block, that there is an energy block. Well, that may or may not be the case. It is not always a block of energy. Sometimes the energy is deficient. Sometimes the energy is too much and imbalanced. So there are many things to consider in Chinese medicine, and I'll just bring some of those concepts to you today. So we all wish, of course, that our animals could have a long and healthy life with us, and it isn't usually until later in life when they begin to show signs of aging that we wonder, well, what's wrong? Well, first of all, we want to support throughout their lives this life force, this chi or ki, and a lot of times we can just do that with play, with exercise. Aren't we in a happier state ourselves when we are playing, when we are engaging with life? And for our animals, that's important too. It's not good for them to be cooped up in a cage, an apartment, tied up to a tree. It's not good for anybody to be limited on their movement. And so with movement practices that people have, like yoga and dance and all of those wonderful things, those are ways in which we can move the life force within us. And for animals, chasing the ball, going for a walk, all of those things will be amazing for supporting that life force. And yet, there are still external forces that influence the health and well-being of the animals, not just are they moving or not. In fact, we can relate to, dis-ease or causes of disease to several external factors that I talk about in my book quite a bit, and I focus on with my students and clients quite a bit. And these are toxins, stress, and poor nutrition. And what they lead up to is low vibration and stuck chi. So let's talk a little bit about each one of these. All of these, the low vibration, I'm sorry if I'm going back and forth between two things. I actually have my script written out here in case I forget to say something. So I want you to have all of the benefit of what I have to offer. There we go. All right. So energy imbalances. There are symptoms of these energy imbalances that look like dis-ease. If the energy is imbalanced, there can be, manifestations of the physical illness, for example, arthritis and cancer and diabetes, and all of these are not just dis-eases, they are energy imbalances. In Chinese medicine, we can refer to these as one of these three types of energy imbalances, and that is deficiency, excess qi, or stagnation. And with deficiency, there is, first of all, regardless of the cause, deficiency, excess qi, or stagnation. It can result in disharmony. When we are living like that dog who is running after the ball, that's harmony. That's happiness. That's exercise. That's running. That's having the energy to live life. And with energetic imbalances, there is a disharmony. And disharmony can show up in the form of aging, even premature aging, injury, even a tear in a ligament, for example. Some younger dogs are just prone, they say they're prone to injury. Well, maybe there's a disharmony that is leading to this degree of being able to sustain injury. Dis-ease, also emotional disharmony, very, very strong emotional connection that we have with our animals can show up in physical form, much the same way Paul was talking about earlier. So what is normal and healthy? Well, we would expect there to be aging eventually, right? But with ease and grace. Not necessarily with pain and arthritis. And we would expect that if there is an injury, that healing happens quickly and recovery is easy. We would expect normal and healthy to have no disease. No disease. None are acceptable, in my opinion. Diseases are not on the list for me or for my animals. I've been through that, and I know that we don't have to go there. Normal and healthy means emotionally happy and content, not stressed out, not anxious, not aggressive, not sleepless, not the word anti, it's dissocial, I guess. And having a quality and quantity of life. So many of my clients I've worked with over the years, their dogs are 4 years old and have cancer. You know, what is up with that? Why is that happening? And with our human children, we are often seeing such devastating cases as well. So some of this has to do with the external factors, and some of it, of course, has to do with what David was talking about earlier today with karma and ancestral, we'll call it baggage. Animals have that too. Deficiencies can be described in Chinese medicine as not enough. It's not enough fuel, for example, in the system to perform and support bodily functions. And we might say that this deficiency could show up as a qi deficiency, or a blood deficiency, or a yin or yang deficiency. A qi deficiency would look like fatigue, for example, or lethargy, or weakness, or decreased function of some system in the body. And it can result in asthma, for example, which would be for lung qi, food intolerances, which might manifest as spleen and stomach qi, or urinary incontinence, which would be kidney qi. And these qi deficiencies, let me go back, these qi deficiencies, when you think of what could cause a deficiency, what is not enough fuel? Well, maybe it's not the right food. Maybe it's not enough love. Maybe it's not enough human contact or interaction, not enough exercise. So there are many causes for qi deficiencies. A blood deficiency might be something that would result in a dull or dry coat, dry skin, and these or other symptoms stem from liver blood deficiency. Again, I'm not a Chinese medicine doctor, but if you can begin to utilize some of this terminology, you can get a feel for the areas of the body that hold the life force energy and how we can interpret that into what we're seeing happening in our animals. So blood deficiencies, along with liver blood deficiency, could result in reproductive imbalances, poor eyesight, weak tendons and ligaments. I am seeing some of these in my own dog, who is Gracie, now 12 years old, and I'm working on it. I'll tell you how I'm doing it later. Yin deficiencies. Yin is the female aspect of the energy. Yang is the male aspect of the energy. We talk about male and female parts of the brain, male and female sides of the body, Ida and Pingala. So this is the duality of how we are living our lives. We have a duality that creates a balance. If there is an imbalance, an energetic imbalance with the yin, main symptoms of yin deficiency would be dryness and low-grade heat conditions. For example, a dry cough, thirst, dry mouth, constipation, dry eyes, and so forth. A low-grade heat affecting the heart, for example, could be restlessness, sleep difficulty, or irritability. Yang deficiencies, more the masculine aspect of qi. It's a higher degree of the qi deficiencies, more extreme fatigue and weakness, feeling cold or getting cold easily. Do you know anybody like that? What about fluid buildup or edema? Circulation is not going so well, right? There's a deficiency there and it's building up. Kidney yang deficiency could be congestive heart disease with heart yang deficiency and frequent urination and or incontinence. Acute yang deficiency results from exposure to cold, as with animals who are left outdoors in the winter. That's just one example. Excess qi. So we talked about deficiency, now excess. Excess qi, there's too much of something. Heat, cold, yin or yang. There might be hyperactivity, often the result of an external pathogen, some kind of infection, bacteria, virus, or perhaps even some toxins. It can also result from internal factors, improper food and irregular patterns of eating and sleeping, for example. Also, emotional stress can cause excess qi, and it is often a reflection of human emotions. I remember one time doing a presentation for some people about animals and wellness, and someone asked me a question about their anxious cat, and my answer was a question: are you anxious? So sometimes the anxiety that we are feeling in our body is picked up on by the animals, and they're very much like children. They don't understand. They don't understand why things are happening. They think it's their fault. They take the blame. They soak up the energy, and this is how living with animals is. It's beneficial, and yet it can be heartbreaking too. Excess qi can result in heat, and that would be showing up as an elevated temperature, thirst, agitation, skin rashes, heavy breathing, or cold, shivering, curling up near the heater, can't regulate the temperature, edema, vomiting. And yang excess qi would be like excess heat, but more so. I find that animals who have cancer run hot. So when an animal has cancer, they seek out the cold. They're trying to cool down their energy so that they can feel more comfortable. When our dog before Gracie had cancer, and she was in the process of recovering from cancer, because she did in our totally natural way. we were spending time outside with her in the winter. She wanted to go lay down in the cold, and so we let her, and we were out there with her. But that was a part of her regulating her excess qi. Stagnant qi. This is what we refer to as blocked, right? Something that's not moving. When life force becomes blocked or stuck, it's referred to as stagnant. Now the blood could become sluggish. There might be pain or inflammation. And you can relate this, for example, to a pain that you have in your body. If you have a pain, what's the first thing you want to do with it? You know, you put your hand on it, maybe you massage it a little bit, you try to get that moving. Same thing for stagnant qi. Stagnation from excess qi may cause more acute pain, whereas stagnation from deficiency can cause minimal pain. And stagnation from excess can be helped by dispersing the excess energy. With deficient stagnation, you might have to build energy so that qi can flow. And so in either case, you're aware there is a block. And here's where you can begin to use tuning forks, whether there is a deficiency, an excess, or a stagnation. Tuning forks can be used in all situations. A disharmony is when a condition of vibrational disharmony occurs. It sets the stage for dis-ease as a physical manifestation. All physical illness and emotional traumas have vibrational roots. David talked about this morning, about clearing cords and pulling up the root of that cord. The same is true for animals. We can become aware of their disharmony as they are showing physical symptoms and know that if we just treat the symptom, we are not going to get to the root. So when we are offering energy balance to our animals, we want to include the idea of vibrational harmony, adjusting the disharmony to become more harmonious. So we use sound to release stagnation, to increase the flow of qi, to create balance, wellness, and harmony. So vibration, here are a few terms we've talked about, and they've been mentioned throughout the SomaShare presentation: resonance, entrainment, and dissonance. And these will become important when you are choosing the tuning forks that you want to work with. Resonance are frequencies that match. Now, in that video that David selected for us to watch earlier, there was a physicist showing how if you tap one tuning fork and another tuning fork of a similar frequency is near it, the other one that is not tapped will begin to vibrate. So that is resonance. That's a frequency that matches. Now, in this particular picture, the cat and the dog are looking at burgers. And both of them are looking at species-appropriate food. This is the kind of food that supports and resonates with the animal's qi. So if you're trying to support life force or qi in the animal, you want to include foods that resonate with their body. Foods that do not resonate with their body do not support life force qi. I know I sound a little emphatic about this. It's how I spend a lot of my time teaching people about species-appropriate food. Entrainment. Vibrations, when sounded near each other, become more similar until they are exactly the same. So this is an important concept because if you have a tuning fork, I have so many around me. Let me just grab one. If you have a tuning fork that is a particular frequency and you are using it on the body, then you want to encourage the body to recognize this harmonious frequency, this solfeggio frequency, and become entrained with it. So that's partly the reason why we are using the solfeggio frequencies, is we're trying to get the body to entrain with the harmonious frequencies. When you are working with animals, it is vitally important to be in tune with them and be aware of what's going on. The reason is because animals will hide their illnesses. They will disengage. They will try to be present and yet not, something will be up and you'll know it. You'll be aware of it in some way. So pay attention, be in tune, notice, is your animal underfoot hanging out in the kitchen so that you have to step over him, or is he hiding behind the chair? These are things to be aware of. If he's hiding behind the chair, there's probably something wrong. If he's underfoot, he's part of the family, and that's where he should be. Balancing qi, as I mentioned before, involves exercise and movement, play, and a healthy lifestyle. And if these are not met, then imbalances can occur faster and more often. However, sometimes we need to go beyond these modalities of balancing qi to incorporate building qi and enhancing qi, and this is where we bring in the tuning forks. So here's Gracie and me. One of my students took a picture of me as I was using some tuning forks on her. And we can enhance and build qi by using acupressure or acupuncture or trigger points, as well as chakra energy fields. Dissonance is a releasing or a vibrating out what's not harmonious in the body. And in the energy vitality technique, we use different combinations. Again, let me reach. We use different combinations of tuning forks to create a dissonance. And this dissonance finds the dissonance that's in the body to vibrate it out, to release what is not harmonious in the body. And the dissonance, I know Lori wants me to make sure I mention this, and I will mention it quite a bit. Dissonance is created when you've got the two different frequencies and you do a little math, you subtract one from the other, and you've got the frequency of dissonance that you are using. It is created by the interval of two forks, and intervals are going to be one of the things you will want to consider when you are choosing your energy tools for working with animals. We are creating a balanced consciousness, and when we choose the interval of two forks, we can work with specific frequencies that help to bring balance to our animals. Balanced and amplified. I love the combination of two ohm forks, as Karen was showing us. Two ohm forks creates an amplification. So you're not just getting the vibration of one ohm tuner, you're getting a multiplying, a synergistic multiplication of ohm for your animal, for the person. It's a wonderful tool to use with animals. So which tuners should you use with animals? And I wanted to include this picture here that was offered by one of my students. That cat is a 31-pound Maine Coon cat who, as soon as the energy tuners came home and were laid out on the table, Ra is his name, Ra went and laid down on him. So why does a cat choose to lay down on the tuners? What is going on there? Well, those tuning forks, even though they are not activated, even though you can't hear them, they are vibrating. And animals are so sensitive to sound that they pick up on the vibration. It's not the cold of the metal. Those tuning forks are right in the pouch. can't see the colors. He's just choosing to lay on them. Those pouches, I have been shown evidence that they are covered in cat fur, and this is his choice of where he wants to be in the house. He's also a crystal thief, just to let you know. Working on animals with body tuners. So here is Gracie again, and I have a me tuner on the back and a fa tuner on the chest. Now, I just happened to grab those, but so it was an intuitive grab of those tuning forks. I wanted to point out that the me body tuner and the fa body tuner create an interval of 32 hertz. Now, 32 hertz is a sound of the earth. It's an auto tuner vibration, and it helps animals to feel present in their body. It helps them to feel grounded and safe and contained in their body. So you can use this interval. I have the me fork on right in the center. Here, my model, right in the center of the shoulder blades, and the fa is on the chest. Alternatively, you could use a sun and moon tuner to create that Vesica Pisces, that opening of a portal, especially in this position between the shoulder blades and on the heart. You could also use what Pat was talking about, the La and Mi fork, which creates a beautiful interval that is very close to the sun and the moon. So if you don't have a sun and moon tuner, you want to use a Mi and a La body tuner, you can do that. Now I want to mention here about the wounded healer. And I'm going to just scroll down because I haven't been actually reading. You can tell, huh? Give me a moment here to bring up Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's an archetype. Are you familiar with archetypes? An archetype is a representation of an energy field, and the archetype of the wounded healer is something that many of us can relate to. We see it in modern day as a person who was not well and went through a healing process is now well and wants to heal others. So this is sort of the archetype of the wounded healer, and we can relate this to in Greek mythology, Chiron. And Chiron was half man and half animal, half horse, who was wise and compassionate. And he got hit in the leg by an arrow Hercules shot. And the arrow was a poison arrow. It caused him great pain. Chiron was immortal, so he did not die from that wound, but he suffered greatly. He had terrible pain from it and lived for a long time with that pain until a deal was struck. You can read this in Greek mythology. It's a wonderful story. Until a deal was struck and he was relieved of his suffering and was able to compassionately go into the underworld and to help in that way. So Chiron has a particular frequency. The frequency of the fork of Chiron is 100, what is it, 150? Did I even say it in here? I didn't. 151.56. hertz. That is the frequency of Chiron as a body tuner. Now you can make something very close to that if you have two forks. One is the Ut body tuner, and the other one is the Schumann resonance body tuner, which has a frequency of 250.56 hertz. That minus 99 comes very close to Chiron, about 151-ish hertz. So again, having two forks representing different hertz can create an interval, and you can use the frequency of the interval in a particular way. So if you have questions about Chiron, I suggest reading more about Chiron. By the way, in honor of Chiron's sacrifice, he became a constellation. So he was honored in that way. For dogs, let's take a look at chakras just for a moment. This is Gracie again, and I put colored dots on her where they would represent the chakras. And I want you to notice that in addition to the colored dots that are on this diagram, there's a white one, and it's kind of hard to place it on the picture, but it's right here. It's between the shoulder blades. Some sources say that it is the shoulder blades, but I believe it is this portal here. This brachial chakra is right here, right between the shoulder blades. It is a very powerful portal, a very powerful chakra. And for you Reiki practitioners out there, you might know that one of the hand positions for people is hands on shoulders, right? If you have hands on shoulders, that's sort of the hello, kind of eases you into doing a Reiki session. For dogs, the brachial chakra is the hello. So reaching for an animal to begin a connection, I recommend offering your hand on the brachial chakra. Let's see. Animals are earth angels, and they help us remember our connection to the earth, and their energy is of the earth. So they are profoundly grounded. They are both spiritually and physically grounded. So working from this concept of remembering their wholeness and their life's purpose is where we begin to offer balance using chakra centers. It's something that David also talks about quite a bit is let's remember our wholeness first, right? So animals don't need fixing, just like people don't need fixing. They are whole, beautiful beings. And what we want to do is bring them into balance by helping them to remember that. And we can do that by working on animals with body tuners. And for a chakra balance exercise, we can just begin selecting body tuners that are solfeggio inspired. The oops, I put it down somewhere, but we can use these different body tuners, solfeggio inspired, on the different chakras, just based on their colors. And choose that as a method. It's a very simple method. And you may be wondering at this point is, why isn't she talking about energy tuners? Is anybody wondering that? Why am I not talking about using energy tuners on animals? Well, let me tell you a little bit about what my research has shown. There are training methods out there in the world that show people using energy tuners on dogs and cats. And in almost every video that I've seen, in almost every experience I've had with animals, is they don't want to hear a high-pitched tone. It's so sensitive. They are so sensitive to high-pitched tones that they become agitated. It is uncomfortable for them. Dogs hear 5 times more acutely than people, and cats twice as more acutely than dogs. So why would you impose a sharp tone on an animal? I have seen videos where animals are contained so that these tuners, these energy type tuners, can be used in their etheric field. I have seen animals be uncomfortable as they are being treated. Maybe they're just being set up for the video. I don't know. But my recommendation is don't use them. Don't use them. You can have them in your field. Remember Ra laying on the tuners. Nobody's going to use those tuners sounding them on that cat, but he is choosing to lay down on the tuner, so you can offer them as in their environment, or you can use them in a distance healing session where they are not physically in the room and their ears will not be bothered. But using body tuners in this way, with putting them directly on the chakras, right along the spine, magical. You get such good results, total relaxation, using all the different frequencies that we have to offer with solfeggio-inspired body tuners. The other way to work with animals and body tuners is to use them on trigger points and meridians. There are many resources that you can tap into online or in books that show different trigger points. In this particular case, I'm using 2 forks, the Oot and the Me fork, on Gracie's knee. And the reason is because not this knee, but her other knee. Ligament was torn several years ago. She's healed totally naturally, no surgery, runs, plays, everything totally fine. But to keep her ligaments feeling balanced energetically, it is a really good idea to use tuning forks on her knee. And then for your animals, you might want to use them on other trigger points or on different meridians. So in working with animals, there are important guidelines. The first one, of course, is to be grounded yourself. Grounded and centered. Use Om on yourself to clear your own energy field. If you are not calm and centered, the animal will pick up on your uncertainty or stress. It is not a good idea to approach an animal with uncertainty. And by the way, it's not a good idea to approach an animal like this and letting them know that you've got something hard and metallic that they may associate with some sort of veterinary tool. Create a safe space in which to do your work. And this area should be free of clutter. It should be calm, comfortable for you both you and the animal. This is an area in my healing space that offers some light from the window. There's some soft carpeting. It's sort of contained. It's a small dormer, and Gracie chose to lay there, so that's where I chose to work on her. Don't rush. Patience is a huge key when working with animals. Charging in armed with your shiny metal can feel intimidating. And take your time for you and the animal to get settled. Even offer a non-vibrating fork for your animal to sniff before starting. Of course, you don't want to offer a vibrating tuner, because if their nose touches the vibrating tuner, they're going to say no thank you, because that's going to bother them. And get on the ground if possible. Stay at their level. Don't try to put them on the table or on a bed, or lift them up in certain ways, because that's not where they live. That's not where they want to be. If they choose to be up high, okay, fine. But get on the ground if possible. And you can avoid certain scents and fragrances. By the way, this is all the time, not just when working on animals. Do not use artificial fragrances. Do not use cleaning solutions that have fragrances. Don't use chemicals in your home. All of those I list in my book. But you can use some essential oils. That would be fine. There are calming oils. There are supportive oils. If you have questions on that, there are wonderful resources for it. Have all your tools handy and within reach, so you don't have to run off and get something else. And do not place the activator near the animal where the vibration of striking can be felt. In other words, don't have your activator on the floor next to your animal where you're giving it a whop, because that makes a loud noise and it has a frequency all of its own. I recommend instead either having the activator in your pocket using the heel of your hand, or in some, maybe even a tennis ball in your pocket would be enough to use as an activator. You want to be aware of the sound that the tuning fork makes against the activator and the vibration that is influencing the session for your animal. Less often is better. Less time, fewer forks, fewer points, and for a first session, a little goes a long way. For a first session, you shouldn't have to feel like you want to use all your forks just because you have them, and you don't need to do a longer session. The first one might just be one fork, 1 or 2 points, that's it, and get that going as part of a practice for working with your animals. So your first steps would be, also pay attention to the animal and watch for signs of distress or stress. If the animal does not want to be there receiving the session, don't force it. So let your animal go. Energy, the energy you are using is enough. And just trust that it is enough. Energy is smart. It's smarter than we are. It's very intelligent. It knows where to go. And you should just allow that to happen. If the animal gets up and leaves, let the animal get up and leave. First steps. When using your body tuners, it may feel intrusive to the animal to feel a vibration directly on the body. And so what you can do is place your hand on the animal, and that's on the brachial chakra. Make a gentle connection. You can sound the tuner, hold it at a distance, and that will be enough in the etheric field so they can hear it. Try placing your hand on the animal's back, sound the tuner, and hold the stem. So you're going to sound it and then hold the stem on your hand, and the vibration will move through your hand and into the animal without being some kind of pokey vibrating thing that they're not familiar with. You can tap the Fa body tuner and place the vibrating stem on top of the head. This particular point on top of the head is a calming point. Acupuncturists will use that as a first needle point to bring calm. You can use the Fa tuner for that. With the animal on its side, use the Fa tuner on the heart, knee tuner on the brachial chakra. I think I mentioned that earlier. Selecting your tools. So whether you are using acupressure, meridians, trigger points, or chakra energy centers as your guide and develop your personal protocol for the session, you'll notice you have a few favorites. And these are the tools you would use most often when working with animals, and here are a few of mine. So I like the Solfeggio Soma inspired body tuners. They are great for an easy chakra balance, as I mentioned before. 2 Om tuners, also wonderful for grounding and amplifying. The Sun and the Moon tuner, they're here, Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon creating the Vesica Pisces, so you can use it on opposite sides of the body. 2 shoulder blades, 2 hips, heart and brachial chakra, 2 sides of the knee. And when you are done using it on one way, switch it around, do it the other way. Platonic year, or the zodiac, is also a very good tool. I haven't mentioned here before, but it was calculated by Hans Cousteau. The frequency is 172.06. And use this fork instead of the Fa on the crown to invoke spirit and to activate the crown. It's extremely calming to do that. So if you have a zodiac tuner, you can use that there. And Chiron 151.27 is the vibration of Chiron, the wounded healer archetype, especially effective on the brachial chakra. How am I doing on time?
You're just about out. It's been 50 minutes, believe it or not.
No, I have more slides.
You have quite a bit more, so go ahead and go 10 more minutes. We'll just work through the break, and then I'll just keep going at 5.
And I would like to answer questions too, if possible.
All right, then.
So So with integration, we want to, of course, be aware of toxicity, stress, and poor nutrition. I'm just summarizing a little bit. You want to include supportive supplements, avoid toxins, and offer a nutrient-rich, species-appropriate diet. The supportive supplements I highly recommend for detoxification. You've got to do some detox for yourself as well as for your animal. After all, they are walking barefoot through the streets where there's benzene and Roundup and all that other stuff. Antioxidants are a wonderful supportive tool as well. Dark vegetables and fruits. Please stay away from potatoes, rice. That's sweet potatoes also. None of that. Don't need it. Plant medicine is also very supportive. Herbs and spices, turmeric, milk thistle, these help support blood qi and liver qi. Essential oils are critical, in my opinion, in working with your animals to help maintain a wonderful life force and to help them remember how to be back in their body and to be whole and well. Also, minerals, copper, zinc, selenium are extremely important for feeding the body what it needs to be here in physical form. Toxicity can come from over-treatment, so please be aware of over-vaccination or over-medication. Environmental pollutants, personal products, what are you using for shampoos or cleaning products? Please eliminate all of them. And toxicity in food is where we get 80% of our toxins. So be aware of the food that you are offering. Just use whole foods. So you're going to avoid these toxins. You're going to have clean practices and products. Also reducing stress. Trauma can come from abuse, abandonment, confinement. There's so many animals in the world who are available for adoption and who have experienced this. You can offer this to help relieve their trauma. Surgery and injury, of course, is traumatic and can lead to stress. And you'll want to bring in tuning forks to help heal that if surgery is necessary or if injury happens. Also, your lifestyle. Are you anxious? Just like I asked that woman with the cat. Are you anxious? Are you loud? I'm talking to light workers. Of course you're not. But for other people out there in the world who don't have these modalities and tools and ways of being, animals do pick up on that. The intensity of your work can have an influence, so do be careful about working too hard or too many hours. Gracie comes with a toy and reminds me, she pokes me right in the ribs to let me know that I'm at the computer too long, so time to get away. Pay attention, be in tune with your animal. Relieve and heal stress, so making time to be with your animals, initiating contact, rubbing them all over, loving them up, getting down on the floor, having an understanding about what their needs are. Are they comfortable? Are they uncomfortable? Are they alone? Are they insecure? Work with them and understand who they are. Using essential oils, tuning forks, and crystals are all essential elements in energy tools, in my opinion, and all work great. I had to include this. This is a great picture of an animal who knows that it's not a good idea to eat kibble. Get away from the kibble. It's highly commercial, highly processed. It's full of contaminants and indigestible proteins and improper ingredients. Don't do it. Bad for chi. And this is my Gracie, just about ready to eat a raw food diet. It looks like a stew, but it's all raw meat and vegetables and wonderful ingredients. And this is what she's been eating for years. I am the author of Heal Together, Natural Health Solutions for Animals and Their Humans. If you get onto my website, either Second Nature Healing or Natural Pet Health Alternatives, I have a couple, you can sign up for getting that. It is now available for free through an online platform I use as a teaching tool. So you can have access to that, and I'll be adding to it. Call me if you need me, if you want to have a consultation, you want to talk to me about your animals. I am totally here and available for you. And I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, a couple resources. I wanted to add that slide. Accutonics is a company that produces some planetary tuners and has a protocol for working with acupuncture meridians for animals. They have a wonderful book out as well. And these other resources talk about some of the things that I spoke about in my presentation. I just wanted to mention the frequency of 111, just real quick. Selecting your tools, moon plus oot. If you have a moon tuner, moon plus, sorry, it's such a mess, moon plus oot.
99 and 210, that's going to be 111.
111, we love 111. 111 is also created on the front body when you're using the energy vitality technique, using La and Sol together. That creates the frequency of 111. This is a harmonizing frequency, so you want to use 111 whenever possible. One of the resources I gave you has some information on 111, so look it up. That's it. Thank you.
Yay! All right, let's find. Let's see. I think we got down. Let me find these last few comments here. If any more come in, we'll try to catch them here in a second. All right, you had quite a few, so I will send you a transcript of all of them. But right. The ones that I highlighted that are kind of questions or comments. So Marianne's cat loves the ohm frequency. So Angela has a dog that attended every tuning until he crossed over. So that's nice. So here's a question. Have you found that one's pet can take on the same health issue you have to try to help heal you? For example, yes. If one has an underactive thyroid, they might take an overactive thyroid.
Yes, and there are two reasons for that. One, you're in the same environment, exposed to the same toxicity. We're getting a lot of mercury from Asia, so the mercury is being held in our body. Also radiation from Fukushima. This is playing havoc with the health of everybody on the planet. It has not gone away. It has not been fixed. So first of all, your environment, you're in the same environment physically. You are soaking up a lot of the same toxins. And in addition, the same emotional anxieties, the same traumas. And so, yes, for two reasons. Okay?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Pat Krause says that she bonded with her female mini dachshund? Dachshund?
Dachshund. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's an interesting word. Okay. After back surgery, she recovered very well after acupuncture body tuners, and now she asks for them periodically.
Yeah, they know how.
Right. And again, Pat, I do doggy massage and body tuners. They love it, but you can tell if they have an energetic blockage on their body or close to the spine. They lift their head and widen their eyes.
That also can be felt with your fingers if there's tightness in the muscle. You know, think about if you have a sore muscle in your arm or your leg, you feel it and there's like a knot in there. And animals can get tight muscles too, and that is also a sign of stuck chi.
Okay. Jody in Indianapolis, with animals who are rescued from bad situations, would you recommend using ohm tuners to introduce or calm them when first starting, i.e. aggressive rescues, etc., sounding forks at first away from them for them to hear the sounds?
I would even do a distance healing on everybody in the shelter first.
Oh, there you go. That's an idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also grounding yourself, and I would even introduce some essential oil on yourself. You be the diffuser so that you can offer that calm, peaceful smell. They're very sensitive to smell, so you don't want to dump it on them, but you want to wear it. And an ohm tuner, sure, work it on yourself first. Have it in the energy field, maybe even turn away from them a little bit, sound it so they can hear it, and I guarantee they'll be able to hear it. They may be curious about it, and you can tell from their behavior, are they moving toward it or away from it, and use that as your guide. They will tell you.
Right. Okay, a lot of other comments and a lot of appreciation for this type of work. I know we get calls for animals all the time. We've had people over the years work with different animals, horses, dogs, things like that. So thank you for being an amazing resource and making this your life's work. And we appreciate you taking the time to share. Always an amazing presentation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Be
All right,
gentle.
let's stop the recording here, and we're just going to keep going. Once this stops, I'll start it again. Let me